how's it going, Jake?
Hey Andrew, how you doing?
Yeah, not bad. How's yourself? How are you dealing with the whole pandemic this past year?
Uh, I think I'm handling it pretty well. I'm going a little stir crazy, but life is still finding a way to move on.
Yeah,
Uh, and yeah, I mean, I guess at least myself and the people I'm around were making the best of it. So I gotta
yeah.
say, man, I'm really liking that Pantera poster in the background. That's my favorite
Everyone
band.
says that. Yeah, I've had that poster for years, and I've been a big Pantera fan for a number of years. And Dimebag, rest in peace, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been an interesting time, and I guess it's a good time to release a live album. I guess it's something that a lot of bands have been doing to kind of replace a lot of the live shows. Was that part of the reason why you decided to do this, or?
No, I mean it just kind of worked out that way. Like we didn't even know that we were recording a live album that night. We found out like way after the fact that our sound guy was like, "Oh, by the way, here are some mixes from your show. Like, let me know if you like them." And we are like, "Wow, this sounds awesome. Like, um, we should put out a live album." And that's kind of like how that was done. So and I think from now on, that's got to be the way that we do it because, like, had I known we were recording a live album, I would have been all nervous and like messed up a bunch. But I went out there like I normally do and just played a fun show with my friends, and
Yeah,
I wasn't thinking about the fact that it was being recorded, so
yeah.
uh, I was way more comfortable.
So I guess because I wanted to ask you about the set list, because obviously now after what you just said, the set list was never a consideration then for this live release. He kind of was part of just whatever you were doing on that tour, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, uh, personally, this is one of my favorite set lists that we've ever played, just because it kind of has a lot. It's a very varied diet. I just feel like you're getting a little piece of every part of Periphery in the set list. So I really enjoyed it, and I think the other guys did too, and I think that's why the recording probably came out in the quality that it did, because we were all so comfortable playing those songs in that order, and just we had a couple of tours under our belt playing the same set list, so it was just like all these different elements that came together to make a pretty good sounding live album, in my opinion. So
Was that one of the live shows that you ended up doing before the lockdown and all that stuff?
yeah, yeah, we I think it was a year ago on the 15th. I think that was November 15th last
Okay.
year. um, we actually we were finishing up a US tour when the pandemic had already reached our shores, but we didn't, it wasn't like pandemic level yet, or at least we didn't
Yeah.
realize that it was. We were just kind of like watching it unfold at that point. But once we were home, early March, late February, we are just like, yeah, this is getting worse.
Mm, yeah.
So that's when we knew, like, well, I hope we enjoyed touring while it lasted. It's probably not coming back for a while.
Yeah, unfortunately, no. But I guess this is a good sort of a thing to have in the meantime, at least for a lot of the Periphery fans. So I mean, how much do you think this recording really captures your live sound and performances and all that kind of stuff?
I think it's because there's no, like, I've seen people kind of say like, oh, like it says live in London, but I didn't think bands usually did that. I thought they would like take songs from you know, that they found from the best shows. But no, this is
Mm,
like from start to finish the same
yeah,
recording. And I think that, like, obviously it's mixed differently than what you would hear live, because mixing for live and mixing for a recording are two completely different beasts.
sure. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'd say, and the other thing to note is that we left like all the mistakes in there. It's like you're gonna hear us mess up, and I like that about it, because
Mm.
normally, like, it's a lot worse, and at least in my ears. And that one was like, hey, that's pretty good. We didn't mess up that much.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's pretty raw, and the thing about this music is that people don't necessarily like raw. They like, they want to see if we can do it.
Mm.
And yeah, we can do it, but we're not like, we're not as good as like Pliny or like, you know, Tesseract or whatever musicianship wise. We just go out there and just like do the best that we can.
Yeah.
And, you know, we like it with the rawness and with the flaws and with the, whatever it sounds like. That's, we're happy with that.
I think that's the way to approach it because I certainly, from a live perspective, and when you go see a band live and in person, that you're not there and then the band is going to fix up the mistakes as they're doing the show. I mean, you're seeing it as in person, so I think the live recording should be a reflection of that, really.
Yeah, and I think that if like you're just gonna go back and like overdub things anyways, then it's like, is it really live or is it
Yeah,
like this hybrid thing? I mean,
yeah,
either way, it doesn't bother me. If that's what we wanted to do, I wouldn't care. But I am proud of the fact that it is like, you're getting raw periphery.
yeah. Oh, it's great. Now I understand this is the very first live recording that you've ever put out, right?
Yeah, yeah, the first official one. I think. Well, I guess we did another version of Follow Your Ghost from the last album. We did a live footage video with an actual live audio underneath it, which is, I'd say, for bands kind of rare because normally they do like a live footage video and then just put the album track over it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so this was, I forget exactly when this was, maybe a few months ago. Um, but uh, but yeah, so that would probably be the first thing, and then this is like the first official live album.
Okay, cool. Is that something that you've been wanting to do for a long time, or was this something really just recently that came up?
We've always been like super reluctant to do it because we're, in the studio we're perfectionists. Like it's to the point where it's just like, we have this built-in anxiety about making things sound
Mm,
as good as we possibly can. So when it came to doing a live album, there's always like, oh man, like how would we do this? Like, would we do it that way, where we just like, we record every night and we just pick and choose the best nights, or
yeah.
like, do we turn it into a video shoot as well as like a live album, or do we, there's always been discussions about it, and no one was particularly like, yeah, we got to do a live album, let's do it. It's always like, oh my god, that's a lot of work, and I don't know if we're good enough yet. So to kind of like have it brought to us this way, where we weren't necessarily aware that it was happening, and like we could just be ourselves and not like really like have another space in our brain taken up with, during a show, like, oh, we're recording, I better watch my ass here.
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, it's I'm just glad that it happened. It finally happened, and it was just like, at least on our end, no more effort than we normally put in. Like all the heavy lifting was done by like our sound guy Ronnie, and then the mastering engineer Ermin, who's from Australia, by the way.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
yeah, yeah, those guys are the ones that made it sound awesome.
Yeah.
We just
So based on your experience then, and with the feedback you've been getting so far from the fans, which I do want to ask you about, would you do it again? Would you do another live album?
Yeah, absolutely. I would probably insist that if we're gonna do it, we do it the same way, or just don't tell me, just record, just record the coolest night, and we're good. But it'll probably be a little while before we do another one.
Yeah,
It's like
sure.
live albums are kind of like those very once in a while things for a lot of bands. But yeah, as long as we have the ability and the will to play live, I don't see why we wouldn't do another one.
So what have been fans saying about the album so far? Like, have they been digging it or?
I think so. I think like after the first day, I kind of stopped looking at what people are saying about it, just because
Mm,
at this point in my career, I've kind of had to take a step back from immersing myself in the opinions of our listeners or people who are, that casually stumble upon the band, because um, I used to get really into it, and like it used to bum me out, and I used to engage, and I used to try to defend my band, and it's just like, as I've gotten older, I realized that like, I'm trying to take stock of like what makes me happy, what makes me unhappy, because
mm,
like when you get it to a certain age, you're like really are focused on like, what have I been doing throughout my youth that makes my adult life kind of crappy. And that was one of the things. Like just like going online, reading comments, letting them affect me, and having to like lash out or like defend myself. It's like now I feel
Yeah.
like I don't really have anything to defend. Like I know that I try my best. I know that I love my band and I love the guys in it, and I know that I will do this until my hands fall off. So like really, as long as I still feel that way about those things,
Mm.
it really doesn't matter what anybody's saying about it. But I hope they enjoy it. Like I don't want what I'm saying to get taken out of context. Like I really hope that our listeners enjoy it, and kind of, especially now when they can't go and see shows, like this is kind of like a little like remembrance, or something to hold people over until we can go back out and play again. So even though I haven't been like really checking up on what people are saying about it, I really hope they're enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of those things where you can't please everyone, and so you just do what you have to do, I suppose.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like I think like there's this kind of like age bracket, because it's generally I'd say it's generally younger folks who just kind of, they just get super territorial about their tastes and what they like.
Mm.
And the funniest part about it is that like there must be some aspect of the music that they're enjoying, and then there's this other part that they're not. So then they have to like critique that because they really want to enjoy it, even though they're not
Mm.
saying that.
Yeah,
It's like that's the only thing, like if I'm looking at it psychologically, that's the only thing that I can think is that like wow, if like you would want to critique that, then that means that you would want it to change, because then if it was that needed to change, then you would actually just enjoy the whole band.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
so it, it's just kind of a weird thing. So, but again, I hope people enjoy it.
Definitely, definitely. Just on the flip side of like live albums, from your own perspective, do you have any favorites from other bands that you've really enjoyed over the years?
Yeah, I mean, 101 Live Proof is like, that's like my blueprint
Yeah, yeah.
for live albums. When I heard that, I was just like, man, this is a band. One guitar player, one bassist, one singer, one drummer, and they sound huge.
Yeah.
Um, so so yeah, that's one of them. There is I forget exactly what it was. I think it was called Once in a Lifetime by Dream Theater. I think that's what it's called, but
Uh, yeah, I think
it,
that's what it was. Yeah, yeah. I think I know what
yeah,
you're talking about.
it came out right after Falling into Infinity, and that was kind of
Yeah.
like, I think that was my first live album from a band. Maybe it was like maybe I had some recordings on tape from like Iron Maiden or something like that
Mm.
that were live. But my first actual like live album was that Dream Theater one, and I was just like, this is really sick.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I think I think that's it. I mean, I'm sure I have other ones. They're just not coming to my head right now.
Yeah, but the Pantera one is good. I remember when that came out as well, and yeah, you're right. It's phenomenal what that band was able to do with just the instruments that they had, and Dimebag on that one guitar. It's a very powerful thing. There must have been an influence on you then by some means.
Oh yeah, I mean, like Dimebag is like my all-time favorite guitar player ever. And it's kind of funny coming from this generation of musicians where like we unabashedly use backing tracks. We don't have a bass player. Our bass player is on a backing track, and we have
Mm.
we have synthesizers coming through the PA and all this stuff. And I don't mind that we do that, because we use technology to our advantage, but there is
Mm.
something really alluring to the fact that Pantera was just Pantera. Like it was just them. Like there was like the only playback they had was like their intros, or
Yeah,
like if
yeah,
they were like leading into a song with something, but they didn't have anything else like going on. It was just
yeah,
them, and it was amazing. Like it was
yeah.
just, even at their like drunkest and highest, they were still like such a fun live band. Like just so fun.
Yeah. It's been a few years since we've seen. I think I remember seeing you guys down Norway about 3 years ago, right? I think that was the last time you were here.
That sounds about right. I'm not 100% sure.
Mm.
It's all a blur at this point. I was
Yeah.
I did a clinic tour for Ibanez last year, and
Okay.
last time that I was there. But
Yeah. Yeah, no, you've been here a few times. I know you came down here with Devin Townsend one year, so it's always fantastic to see you guys down here. And unfortunately, it's not going to be something we'll see for a while. But yeah, I know. Well, what's your experience has been like in Australia as far as the live shows? It's been probably positive, right?
I mean, dude, if like I had to go anywhere, if like I was getting kicked out of this country, I would 100% go to Australia first. Like that's like just everything. I don't know. I relate to Australian people a lot. Like you guys have like really great sense of humor. You guys have really good food. You guys have beautiful cities and beautiful country. It's just kind of like I don't know. It's one of my all-time favorite places to go on the planet.
Well, hopefully when things open up, we'll get to see you down here again. And congratulations on the new album, the new live album, especially. Yeah, it's killer stuff, and hopefully all the fans will dig it when they're in hear it. So thanks for your time, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. Thank you.
No worries, man. And I guess we'll chat another time for your next album or whatever you have in the plans for the future. So
Yeah, hit me up.
cool, man.
All right,
All
cool.
right.